Welcome into the I-80 Boys college football show. As always, I'm Christian Hunt, and that guy somewhere over there is...
That's Chris Vaca, one of the co-hosts of this show. Christian, I got to start out. I think it's on everybody's mind. What the hell happened Thursday night and Friday night, to be honest with you, this week? Some very crazy games, my man.
Some very crazy games. You start off with West Virginia and Houston. That was a game I feel like probably didn't get a ton of love only because of Thursday night football. You had the, what was a boring game between the Broncos and the Chiefs, a defensive purist wet dream over there in Kansas City. And so it was a game that I turned on right as West Virginia threw that 4th and 10, not Hail Mary, but 4th and 10 touchdown play with about 12 seconds left. And I thought, oh my God, college football's back. This is awesome. Kept watching it a little bit. They had the unsportsmanlike penalty on their quarterback, Garrett Green. And that gave Houston enough field position to then end up hitting a Hail Mary and walk off, win the game with no time left. So that was wild. But again, Chris, it brings up a very good point, and that is the Big 12 continuing to do Big 12 shit.
Oh, all year, man. This is the Big 12. We said it in the offseason. We'll continue to say it today and probably going forward for eternity. It seems like the Big 12 is, outside of Texas and Oklahoma. Christian, I asked you this a couple days ago. Who's the third best team in the Big 12?
I don't know.
Really. K-State?
Pick a name.
I know. It's like West Virginia. We thought maybe. I don't know, man. It's crazy, dude. It's nuts, man. It's been a crazy year again, though. College football, like you said, Thursday, Friday nights, man. Seems like some weird shit happens always during the week. So there were some couple good games, though. They're fun to watch anyway for the fan.
I agree, Chris. I agree. Sticking with that theme, and Gator Swag already in here early to class, it looks like Deion Sanders and Colorado yesterday going up against Stanford. You got to give me your thoughts on that one, Chris.
Oh, when you're up 29-0 at halftime, man. Funny how karma comes around and bites you in the ass, flashing the watches, doing all that shit. How do you give up? I don't know how they lose this game, Christian. I'm going to be honest with you. I turned it off, probably like most people did. That first half, I watched the first half. I was like, Colorado was slinging the ball all over the field. Stanford's one of the worst, if not the worst team in the Power 5 this year. They are. They were predicted. Vegas had them at 1.5 wins this year, if that doesn't tell you anything. The second half, though, I had to watch it this morning because I couldn't believe what I saw on my ticker when I got up at 5 a.m., that they lost that game. So I watched, the highlights and stuff, and Stanford almost threw for 400 yards in that game. Now, I'm not surprised because we all know defense for Colorado is optional all the time. But what the hell are you doing giving up a 29-point lead, Christian?
Yeah, Chris, that's...
At home.
You said it best. I watched a little bit of it. It wasn't really that exciting of a matchup, for me anyways, on a Friday night. But, hey, I watched a little bit in the first half. They got down, like you said, 29-0 at halftime, and I turned it off. I said, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
Woke up this morning, looked at the score, had to do a double take, looked at it again, and said, what in the hell happened? And, Chris, when you have a game like this, very similar, Deion, a former Atlanta Falcon, our history with blowing leads in games and whatnot. But when you have a game like this, it's not one thing went wrong and, oh, my God, that's how we lost this game, right? It was several things had to go wrong. Several key things go wrong throughout the second half of that game. And so that's kind of one of those things where you got a lot to address going into the next week. But I think furthermore than not just getting that stuff addressed, Chris, the thing I haven't understood is Colorado has been one of the weirder teams this year in that they play up or down to everybody they play. They're a team that will go out and pretty much hang around with somebody and almost come back against USC, who's a top 3 team in the country, allegedly. And, you know what I mean? Just do things like that, right? But other than 2 games this year, we're talking about Oregon and another team out there. they haven't won or lost a game by more than a possession. And they've played some teams on their schedule like TCU, Arizona State, Colorado State. So it's just been a very up and down season for the Colorado man. And so, yeah, I don't know, Chris. I mean, it's been one of those weird things for Colorado. They've done better than I thought they were going to do. And I got to be honest with you. I mean, as a player and as a coach, I would hate to see that for Deion and those guys. I obviously, I know the fans get real hyped up about Colorado and stuff like that, and rightfully so. But man, I hate that, dude. I hate that because that sucks, dude. Imagine if your team had almost a 5-touchdown lead at halftime, and somehow I did it. I did it when my Falcons played in the Super Bowl. Right? I'll be the first one to tell you. I got lit. I mean, I was celebrating punts. I was celebrating everything. And I blacked out at halftime, and then I woke up the next day only to realize we did not win that game. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, like I said, I know this is the problem I had. Like, it's a lot of these Deion Sanders fans. This offseason, we did a couple takes on Colorado. Got laughed off the internet, called a bunch of names, didn't know what we were talking about because we said their offensive defensive line is terrible. There is no defense for Colorado this year. There really isn't. I know this is against Stanford. I don't know what happened the second half. I will throw a stat out here for you, Christian, that surprised me looking into this a little bit. Colorado had 17 penalties for 130 yards. I mean, that's how you lose games in the second half. And a lot of them were stupid-ass penalties. I just don't know. I mean, hats off to Stanford, right? I mean, hats off to Stanford for coming back. They got 2 wins this year. That was probably more than two more wins than a lot of people, including myself, thought they were going to get this season. But Colorado going forward, it isn't going to get any better. That defense isn't going to change overnight. They're going to struggle to make a bowl game, in my opinion. I said 5 wins after the win over TCU. It's going to be tough sledding, and it's going to be shootouts every single week for Colorado going forward.
Yeah. Mike has a great question here. He says, how long before the, Buffalo fans basically turn on Deion? I look at that and I say probably a while. I mean, he would have to probably have 2 or 3 losing seasons before they would start to actually turn on him. I mean, because again, if we're talking Buffalo fans, they are ecstatic that they've even won 4 games this year.
And they're brought up all over the place, every channel you turn on.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, they're relevant again, whether they're winning or losing. Now, going forward to next year, there's going to be a lot more, expectations, I would say, especially going to the Big 12. The other side of that too is there's a lot more Deion fans, I think, than there is Colorado fans, and they won't turn on him. They just won't say anything.
Exactly. That was the whole. You said it best, Christian. That was the whole problem with this thing. We said it all off, or this off season before the season started. There's all these Deion fans. Now you don't find them. They're nowhere to be found on the internet. They're hiding back in the hole that they came from. I don't hate the Colorado fans. The Buffalo. We got family that live out in Colorado that are huge supporters of the Buffaloes. They're great. I don't mind those people. It's the Deion fans that come out of the woodwork and hop on the old wireless keyboard and chat away, and they don't even follow college football. Well, now you can't find them because Colorado's getting boat raced every week and playing double, triple overtime games, it seems like. So I'm with you on that one, Christian. Like I said, now I don't think the Colorado Buffalo fans aren't gonna. They're happy to be relevant, be brought up on TV and every major network. They're all over the place. They're happy. It would take a lot for them to turn on Deion. And Deion fans, like you said, they're just gonna, as soon as they win a big game again, they'll be back on the internet chirping away.
Oh yeah, they'll win a game that they probably shouldn't against somebody like UCLA or Utah or somebody like that, and it'll be it'll be all back on. But Mike says, honestly, I think Nebraska has a better shot at a bowl game than Colorado. Not saying we'll make it, but our schedule, I believe, lines up better.
Oh, yeah, Colorado's got a brutal schedule in the Pac-12. Pac-12 is a lot better conference than the Big Ten West.
Yeah. You can combine both those teams. I mean, you guys would probably have a national title contender.
Pretty decent defense and have an elite offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Merge the 2 schools, by God.
Oh, God. I don't know if I could sit in the same stadium as a Colorado fan, Christian. I might burn up.
Let me ask you, that brings up a really good question, though. And I want to open this up to the chat, too. Would you rather, and by the way, it's the year 2023. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Would you rather have an elite defense or an electrifying offense?
God,
You know what I mean? From the context of basically take Colorado and Nebraska situations, right? Where if you're Nebraska, if you can score 30 points a game, you can probably win just about every game you play in. Just about every game you play in. Or if you're Colorado, if you can hold the other team to 30 points, you can win just about every game you play in.
I know that's a tough question because it's like I want to ask you how bad's my offense if I take the elite defense? Is it Iowa, Nebraska bad? Then it doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
It's Nebraska offense with Nebraska's defense, I guess you could put it that way, or Colorado's, basically Colorado or Nebraska. Just take those situations. But which would you rather have?
Yeah, I would still take an elite defense because any team I've ever seen win a national title always has one of the upper top 20 defenses in the country, if not top 10. But God, your offense has to be just a little bit better than not even a little bit. We got strides to make if you're a Nebraska man or Iowa even, or teams like that. So I'm with you. It's just, that's tough. I mean, you've seen what Colorado does week in and week out. They could, Shedeur Sanders is throwing for 400 yards a game, and that's great, and 5 touchdowns. But, I mean, their defense is so bad that teams like Colorado State, Stanford hang with them, beat them. You're not going to beat the Georgias of the world with that. I can tell you that. You're not going to beat Michigan or teams like that. And those teams can limit your offense because they pound the football offensively. So I would still take the elite defense. I've seen teams win in the NFL with elite defenses, a la Ravens for years, and no offense. So I would have to probably lean that way. But, I mean, you're talking about a super elite defense. So, Christian, if you got like a Nebraska-style offense, I mean, you can't even give up a touchdown. That's about it.
Yeah. I mean, basically the conversation, and you look at both ends of the spectrum with that. I mean, you're basically looking at Kirk Ferentz versus Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
I mean, those are probably the two best guys,
yeah.
I would say, that do that, right?
Yep.
As far as no offense, great defense. No defense, great offense. I mean, I guess you could win doing both. It's just a matter of, who you play.
Yeah, that's part of it too. I watch enough football to know like teams like Georgia and Alabama, even, and Ohio State, throw them in there. Michigan, those teams, they're so good. They got really good defenses most of the time. Ohio State's defense looks a hell of a lot better this year. They're a different team than they normally are, but their offenses are at least above average, if not elite. And that's how you make the playoffs. You got to have both, Christian, in today's world. Just how it is. Look at North Carolina last year, giving up 30 points a game, scored 40.
Yeah.
You still lose some of those games.
God, geez, dude. You're not wrong. I mean, we're looking at some of the people here in the chat. Mike says, I take an elite defense and an average offense. Gator Swag says, I would take an elite offense with a solid defense. Mike says the Big Ten West could be decided today with Iowa and Wisconsin. That's a game we're excited to kind of get into. We'll kind of dig into that just a little bit here. Looking at some of the games ahead, Georgia and Vanderbilt. Chris was debating whether or not he should take, what was it, 33 and a half?
32 and a half.
32 and a half is the spread on that game. Lock it in right now.
All right. It's locked in.
I mean, this isn't an academic bowl, so Georgia should absolutely beat the dog shit out of them. Indiana, Michigan. Chris, you touched on this game, and you said it best before we got on. I think this has not upset potential, but it has close, like for a half, or close for like a quarter potential.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Indiana's defense isn't terrible. And I don't really know what their offense. They did play Ohio State extremely close. I know that was the first game of the season for Ohio State and Indiana this year. But and don't get me wrong, we're not coming on air here saying upset alert. Indiana's winning this game. I think they're 30-point underdogs, something like that.
Yeah.
But 33. I just think that Indiana could play for a little while with Michigan coming off. Michigan's played just blown the doors off Minnesota and Nebraska the past 2 weeks. I could see a little bit of a letdown spot here, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Exactly. I think Indiana's defense, something you touched on too, is they're much improved from last year. So that might help keep them in for a little bit, not forever, but we'll see what happens with that. Gator Swag says, Jordan Rogers on the SEC Network says Vandy wins 20-24. You mean the guy that went to Vanderbilt and might have a little bit of bias that basically was Aaron Rodgers' little brother who did what in the NFL? mean, he's up there next to like Kurt Benkert. You know what I mean? Basically, he's one step away from being he's one step away from being me and Chris, dude. Honestly.
Yeah, that's a bold take there. Jesus.
That is a bold take. Hey, you know, listen, some of the smartest people I've ever met are also some of the stupidest people.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. There's no goddamn way on the planet Vandy beats Georgia today. No way.
No, absolutely not. One of the best things I think I've ever heard. Nah, we'll save that for a little later on.
All right. Want to move on to Ohio State Purdue here, Christian?
Yeah, we'll move on. You know, I'm gonna kind of lump Ohio State, Purdue, Syracuse, and Florida State together. You know, for me, Chris, I think this is one of those things where I'm not gonna say upset potential in these games, but I see it again as it's either going to be somewhat of a closer game down to the wire, probably that more people expect, or it's going to be a complete blowout. I don't think there's any in between with that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I know we talked a little bit before we got on too about this Ohio State Purdue game. Purdue does have a decent offense. They do. They don't play much defense, but Ohio State coming off a big game against Maryland the week before, I could see this a little bit of a trap spot today at Purdue on the road. Purdue does have a history of beating Ohio State. They've done it a couple years ago. They usually play them relatively tough. If I had to bet right now, you know, money line wise, yeah, I'm going to take Ohio State. But I think this game's closer than 17 points. I truly do. Christian, I agree with you too on the Syracuse, Florida State. Syracuse has gotten mollywopped by North Carolina now. And what was it, Clemson, after starting the season 4-0, they got rated in top 25. This might be a get-right spot for them to play well against a Florida State team who I think is pretty banged up, Christian, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Johnny Wilson's playing today. I know not what the hell's their quarterback name? Jordan Travis. I know he's banged up pretty badly too. So I could see this. I could see Syracuse hanging around in this game too. I don't know. The way this college football week started off on Thursday night, there could be some potential upsets on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to definitely be some surprising games. I mean, hell, like you said, Chris, we've already had some this weekend. I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's, you know, but I love that because it makes college football a lot more interesting. Let's see here. Biggest game of the day, Oregon and Washington. Yep, we're going to get into that one here in just a second. Ohio State wins big, and Florida State game is a little closer than people think. I agree with that, especially like Chris said, Johnny Wilson's out in this one. Mike says Kalen DeBoer is being thrown out for a candidate for Michigan State. Why the fuck would he do that?
Why would he want to go to it? He's going to be in the same conference next year? I don't know why you would go to Michigan State. I did hear, by the way, Pat Fitzgerald was at the game last week for Michigan State. Ooh. FYI. So he was there at that game. I got confirmation on that. He was there. So I think that would be a good candidate for Michigan State. Personally, I think Christian agrees with me on that one.
I mean that only from the standpoint of, I think right now is things look, he's in a better position with Washington compared to Michigan State.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I mean, just looking at it from the outside looking in, I mean, even if they offered him some stupid ass contract, I mean, you could probably take that to some of the Washington boosters and say, hey, look, this is what they want, you know, especially if Washington ends up making it to the playoff this year. I mean, I would use that as leverage all day. Texas A&M beats Tennessee 41-34. That's not a hot take at all, Gator Swag. I think that's a very real possibility, as they like to say, right? It just depends on what Texas A&M team shows up.
Yeah, I agree with Christian on that one. I think that's a game that game. It'll be interesting to find out really what Tennessee is. We really haven't seen them play since the Florida loss. And I want to say that Tennessee was just god-awful in that game because I don't think Florida's a very good team. No offense, Gator Swag. But yeah, A&M, though, yeah, it depends on what team you're getting. What team are you going to get?
Dan Mullen to Michigan State would be solid. I actually don't hate that. You know, and I'm not the world's biggest Dan Mullen fan, but I actually think him at Michigan State, you know, that might actually not be that bad. I mean, especially if you miss on like an Urban Meyer or somebody like that, or whoever, you know, the hottest name is, you go out and get a mid-tier guy. Maybe not a bad thing. Or Chris Peterson, I think is his name, right?
Yep.
Guy that used to coach at
Boise.
Boise and Washington, I think is where he ended up. Like if you get somebody like that, that'd be perfect. But Dan Mullen's not a bad hire either. Looking at the Oregon-Washington game, you know, somebody told us about this a little bit here, Chris. Washington has a better offense as far as yardage. I think they've ran 22 less plays than Oregon, and they have more offensive yards. But Oregon's putting up more points per game. in this one. So I kind of dug a little deeper into it. Does that change anything for you? I mean, who do you got in this one?
Christian, this has been a tough one for me to pick. And I remember when we came on Wednesday, and I think I asked you the same question: who would you take right off the rip? I'm still going to lean Washington because they're at home, and that is the only reason. I think this is going to be one of the games of the year. Michael Penix, Bo Nix, both offenses. I love Kalen DeBoer. I love Dan Lanning. These two coaches are young. They're both awesome. They're from smaller schools.
Yeah,
this should be a really good football game. I am going to bet on this game, and I'm going to put $100 down on Washington today. I'm leaning that only because they're at home. I know it's a terrible excuse. These teams are both playoff caliber teams, hands down. Christian, what about you? What's your thoughts on this one?
Dan the man, Dan the freaking man, dude. I mean, listen, solely, he was the defensive coordinator for us the year the Dogs won the national championship. Did some great stuff for us. I think he kind of helped, with Kirby for the years leading up to that, kind of helped build, recruit, and set that tone the right way for the Georgia program. I think he's doing great things over there with the University of Oregon. Man, give me Oregon in this one, man. I just think Oregon, to me, I like Washington. I think long-term Washington will get some stuff improved, and later in the season, nobody's going to want to play them. And I think you can make the same argument about Oregon. But right now, Oregon, to me, is the most, they're one of the more complete teams, I think, just looking across at it, right? I mean, the defense of Oregon, I think, is a lot more improved, and they might be able to get some stops on Penix.
One thing, and that's a good take, and that's one thing about Oregon. If I had to say who's the more complete team, it's Oregon. They're the most balanced offense in the country. They run the ball for 250. They throw the ball for 300. Their secondary only gives up 120 yards like a game passing. That's unreal, by the way, in college football in today's world, and being out in the Pac-12 with all these elite offenses, excuse me. I agree with you. Still gonna lean Washington and Michael Penix. I know I'm gonna convince myself otherwise. I haven't made the bet yet. I'm gonna wait till that line closes a little bit and everybody jumps on Oregon. But like my buddy Christian down here. But it should be a hell of a game, man. That should be a fun game to watch. So
it'll be fun to say the least, Chris. I'm ready. 2:30. It's not one of those Pac-12 classics where it's at 10 o'clock at night and it's on Peacock or some dumb shit like that. I hope. I found out 2 days ago we do have Peacock. My wife surprised me with that. So there you go.
Awesome. Yeah, game day's there today, so that'll be the most probably watched game this weekend, I would assume.
USC Notre Dame, Chris, 6:30. This is that prime game right here. Who you got in this one?
Oh, I took USC, and I know you're taking Notre Dame in a get right spot this week with the loss to Louisville. I'm taking SC in that horrible Lincoln Riley defense. Sam Hartman should look like a god today after throwing 3 interceptions last week. I just got to go with you. Somebody needs to beat SC so I could finally come down on them and just tell the world what I really think. But I don't know why I'm taking SC today. Give me SC outright to win this game.
Who is USC played this year, Chris?
A really good Colorado team? No. SC hasn't played anybody, honestly, in my opinion.
I know what Notre Dame is.
Oh, I know you do.
And I kind of, in a schedule that they really haven't played anybody, as shocking as that may be to some people, I kind of know what USC is too. And
I do.
Offensively, they're going to light you up unless you have a defense. And Notre Dame happens to have an okay defense, I would say.
I agree.
Right? That is one thing. I know they gave up some points to Louisville, but outside of that, I mean, Notre Dame's defense has done what they're supposed to do. Man, you said it best, Chris. USC's defense, they're out there. I mean, they're a bottom 100 defense, as I like to say. So, I mean, give me Notre Dame in this one.
Yeah, I
gotta have it.
I think the fact that it's at home for Notre Dame is going to help. It is in a get right spot for them, right? The terrible loss to Louisville, and I don't take that the wrong way, Louisville, man. But that game wasn't even close in the fourth quarter. I don't know why I'm leaning SC here. I just want somebody to beat them, I guess. I don't know, but I'm gonna take SC today. I don't think it's time yet for them to lose. You're right. We do know what Notre Dame is. We got a pretty good idea what SC is. They're a Lincoln Riley team that we've seen for the last fucking 8 years.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Chris. Almost though, except you.
I know.
Speaking of another game that you were talking about a little bit
Yeah.
before this, you were torn with it, right? I mean, Arkansas and Alabama. I mean, you talk about two teams that are sort of at polar opposites right now, right? Where we were super high on Arkansas coming into the year, really weren't that high on Bama. Compared to, again, you got to temper expectations here, right? I was saying Arkansas has a chance to win 8 or 9 games this year, and Bama also had a chance to lose 3 or 4 games this year. Still, technically might happen, right? But going to have some things go right. Right now, Bama has all the momentum coming into this one, and Arkansas is a huge underdog, I would have to think, in this. So, I don't know, man. Jalen Milroe, we know what he is as a quarterback. He's looked really good the last 2 weeks, but he's due for an off game, I would say, right? I know that sounds crazy to say, but I've seen the guy practice, and if you go back and you watch how some of his practice highlight tapes, and I know that, hey, that doesn't always, translate, but you just watch how he plays the game. Every now and again, the guy has an off game where he cannot throw the ball, and they do not have confidence to throw it.
No, I agree with you. The only reason why I brought this up because I think Alabama's like a 20-point favorite in this one. And it just seems like the way Alabama's played the last couple of weeks, everybody's back on him, right? Most of the country, hey, Saban's getting this thing turned around. Milroe looks like a really good quarterback. Finally, he's throwing the ball. Arkansas has looked like complete dog shit. I've talked about it a lot on this channel. I was so wrong on them this year. I think Bama wins this game. I could see this thing being close for a while. It does help that they're at home. Alabama plays much better at home than they do on the road.
I'm going to say this for my sake. I think Bama wins. I think they blow them out of the water.
Okay. All right.
Can't see me. I'm winking at you right now. It's kind of one of those things where if I get really high on a team, then typically they sometimes don't do so good. So I think Bama's going to blow them out of the water. But we know what I mean. We know exactly what I mean.
Yes, we do.
Seth, let's pause it real quick here. Seth, the Wisconsin man coming in here. Do you honestly think Lincoln Riley could be an NFL coach? Could he? Yes. Do I think it works in the grand scheme of things? No.
One or two things happens if Lincoln Riley, and I think he will go to the NFL at some point, is either he's going to be Cliff Kingsbury or he's going to be Sean McVay. One of the two.
Yep.
That's the great elite offensive minds. Then who do you hire as a defensive coordinator? Lincoln Riley knows offense. He does. I 100% agree with that. He's one of the best coordinators, coaches in the country offensively. Just look at the last 8 years at Oklahoma and USC. He can recruit players and all that. NFL's a little bit different story, but he's either one or the other. Cliff Kingsbury was a failure with the Cardinals, never had above 500 record coaching at Texas Tech, had all those, Patrick Mahomes, he had Baker Mayfield on that squad at one time, a bunch of quarterbacks. I get all that. I do think Lincoln Riley does go to the NFL at some point, though. I truly do. Whether he's good or not, I don't know. Christian, your thoughts on that?
Personally, I think if you're going to do that, he's got to be on one of the coasts, right?
Yep.
Like he needs to be like maybe the Raiders, honestly, like a team like the Raiders. If you could get him in there, because I mean that's a job that I think would probably be the closest job on the coast that might pop open, or the Chargers, right?
Chargers.
I mean, that might be a good situation for him too. Put him in a situation where he cannot mess it up. I mean, he just has to get, like you said, he just has to get a defensive coordinator, let them run the show, and kind of do that, right? So, looking ahead here, it's more of the chat. Mizzou and Kentucky, we'll get to that one here in a little bit, I think, for sure. Seth said it best, he just needs a defensive coordinator, a really good one, damn right. Do we think Deion ends up in the NFL? Chris, what do you think?
Not for the foreseeable future. I don't think that happens. I think he stays at Colorado. This is just my thoughts here, and you guys can tell me I'm wrong. But I think after his sons leave Colorado, I think he's looking at a job down south somewhere where he's originally from. Now, I know he said he'll never go to Florida State. I know that's his alma mater. But I could see him going to a Florida Gators maybe. I mean, see what happens with Billy Napier in a couple of years or this year or who knows. I think he goes on to another team that can pay him a lot more money, has deeper pockets than Colorado. Does he go to the NFL? I don't know. I don't know if he really wants to coach in the NFL. I really don't. And that's a different – you got to be in a – to coach in the NFL is different, man. I think you got to be really good at one certain thing, whether you're a defensive guy or an offensive guy. I don't know if I don't know if I see Deion coach in the NFL. Christian, I'd like to hear your thoughts. It's a really good question, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Seth said he doesn't. He said he doesn't want to go to the NFL. Dion does. He also said he probably would never leave the HBCU.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I could see it. Down the road, I could definitely see it. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of coaches that give you a lot of coach speak and everything like that. Happens all the time. I mean, Nick Saban, when he was with the Miami Dolphins, said, "There's no fucking way I'm going to take the Alabama job." What happened like a couple weeks later?
Yep. Quit on my Dolphins and went boom right to Alabama.
Exactly. I mean, we look back at Bobby Petrino with my Falcons, right?
Yep.
There's no way he would be out there chasing skirt, breaking his neck at Arkansas. But look what happened.
I forgot about that.
Fuck. Anyways, I don't know. I could see it. Especially think about this, right? Think about this. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how everything's going to play off, right? Or play out. But let's say somebody like the Broncos or the Saints or somebody that doesn't have a stable coach ends up taking Shedeur Sanders in the draft, right? And the coach ends up getting fired after his first year, and everybody's really low on Shedeur. And they say, you know what? Deion's available. Maybe Deion just went out and won the Big 12. Deion maybe got Colorado into the playoffs. Something like that, right? And an NFL team says, hey, we'd like to offer you a contract for, I don't know, whatever amount they would offer him. Just come and coach your son. That would be a pretty tempting offer.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that somebody wouldn't. I just think they would need. NFL's a tough place to coach. I think that they would have to see a little bit. You said it best. Colorado would actually have to do something, either make a Big 12 title game or show that he can probably put a defense together a little bit. I mean, you can hire defense coordinators in the NFL too, so there's a lot of them roaming around looking for jobs. But yeah, it's like I said, that's hypothetically speaking. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I think he's stuck to Colorado for at least another year or two, but. You never know, Christian. We said that. Yeah, coach speak. I don't buy a lot into coach speak. I think coaches just say whatever they have to and move on. So,
yeah, I agree. Okay, got it. Sure. I agree. Mike says you could see him in Atlanta. Atlanta, Dallas. Hey, Dallas might be an interesting one to float out there too.
Yeah, that's the way they've been.
A lot of people aren't probably super sold on McCarthy. You get a good defensive coordinator in there. Yeah, I mean, who knows?
One thing about Dallas, they don't have a problem paying anybody a lot of money to do very little. That's for sure.
They do not. And they do not care. And that's the weird part about it is if he went to Dallas, he probably wouldn't even be the most major storyline coming out of that, right? I mean, because you got Jerry Jones over there that's also a very polarizing figure.
Oh, God.
But
yeah. And he played there. Deion played for the Cowboys.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's the other side of it, too. Jerry normally doesn't like to get polarizing coaches, though, right? I mean, he's not like – He likes to get people that he can kind of mold and do what he wants.
He wants to be. There's one thing about Jerry Jones, Chris. You said it. He wants to be. He wants to be the man. You know what I mean? He has a lot of control over that team. I don't care what anybody. He's got to always have his input. They got a microphone in his face 24/7 all the time. He's always got something to say.
Oh, agreed. Miami, North Carolina, Chris. Looking ahead to that one a little bit. North Carolina team, you're super high on. There's no way, right, that Miami beats North Carolina, right? According to you?
I don't think so. I don't think it's even close. I know you took Miami, I think, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. This will be interesting here.
I still got Miami in it. I mean, look, that whole Fumble-Rooski situation, a Miami fan let us know very passionately, should have never happened. Doesn't count. Isn't real. It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. Whatever have you. We've had some fans kind of talk to us about that, but it is official in the actual columns of wins and losses. So Miami's pissed off. They're going to travel on the road to go play North Carolina. So give me the Hurricanes. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Miami will pull it away. I think they're fired up. They're pissed off, and they need to get right game in this.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you today. I think Drake May's too much. I think they'll put up 35, 40 points. I do think Miami will be competitive in this game. I think Tyler Van Dyke's not a bad quarterback by any means. I actually think Miami was probably looking forward to this game last week when they played Georgia Tech. Personally, just the way they came out and looked flat the whole game. I think it'll be close, but I think it's a high-scoring affair too. Give me North Carolina in this one, though.
Just remember, if Miami wins, to buy a turnover chain, Chris.
Yeah, I know.
If North Carolina wins, I got to buy a damn basketball jersey. So,
love it.
All right, Louisville, Pittsburgh.
Louisville. Pitt's
Louisville.
been terrible this year, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, give me Louisville. I mean, I think I'm on the Jeff Brom train right now. Let's get us some Papa John pizza.
Let's go. Let's go.
I won't be doing that today. I'm going to probably get me some Casey's pizza, have me a cheat meal, but hey, that's neither here nor there. If you know, you know. UCLA, Oregon State. Right here, 7 o'clock banger. This is a game I think we kind of talked about a lot here.
Yeah, UCLA's defense is awesome. Oregon State's offenses look really good as of late. That the fact that it's at Corvallis today, Christian, I'm gonna bet Oregon State, and I think they get the win over a young and up and coming UCLA team. UCLA's impressed me this year. They've done a good job, and their quarterback Dante Moore, man. I don't think he's played in an environment like this at Oregon State. So, give me the Beavs. Give me the Beavs.
Yeah, give me the Beavs too, man. I think you said it exactly best. UCLA's defense, they're pretty good. I mean, but their quarterback, Dante Moore, true freshman on the road. We've seen him struggle the last couple weeks, especially. I think Oregon State at home, night game. I think they come ready to rock and roll. I think the ukulele gets back on track and continues to live rent free in the Clemson man's head. This one.
Love it. You're
Cal, Utah. We don't have to go super in depth with this one. Biggest question mark is Cam Rising. Will he play? Will he not play?
You have to ask Kyle Whittingham that.
He's still day. He's still day to day. He is still day to day.
Yeah. Give me Utah on this one, though. I do think Cal's not I think they're kind of a slept-on team this year. They put up, 40 against Oregon State last week at home. Utah's got a good defense, though. Utah's another team that's tough to beat at Utah, though. So give me Utah on this one.
Yeah, I got Utah on this one as well. Looking ahead at NC State, Duke.
Christian, you told me that what's his name's going to be not playing today, right, Leonard?
Well, he's questionable. That's the thing. Riley Leonard, their quarterback. I mean, if he doesn't play, I could see NC State getting the dub in this one, even on the road. Yeah, but if he does play, give me Duke, man.
I like it. I agree with your take there exactly. I don't have nothing more to add to that one.
A&M and Tennessee, that'll be a good one. Tennessee number 19, obviously. The only loss they have this year is to some team named Florida. Gator Swag, he'll appreciate that. Great win for Florida, by the way. But looking ahead at Tennessee and Texas A&M here, I don't know. This is a pick'em game to me, right? I'm not as sold, I think, on this Tennessee team as maybe I was in the preseason.
Yeah, I'll add this. Tennessee, you're going to find out what they are after this game. Was it just a terrible game against Florida? They didn't show up. It happens sometimes. I don't know. But A&M we've watched play a lot. They played Bama. They played, I think, Ole Miss. They played some teams, Auburn. I've watched them play a ton. What team shows up? They lost to Miami, got blown out in the fourth quarter of that game early in the season. If A&M's defense shows up, I'll lean A&M. But the fact that this is at Tennessee, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Christian, you're an SEC man here. Doesn't Tennessee have one of the longest home win streaks currently still? They're really good at home. I know that has to do with last year and the year before, but they're up there, aren't they, on home wins? They're tough to beat there.
I mean, they are definitely tough to beat at home. I mean, I don't know if it's the largest home win streak.
No, but I think they're like top 2 or 3, aren't they? Like way up there yet?
Yeah, I mean, they got to be. I mean, I've been to Knoxville before. That stadium is, it's right there on the river, dude. And I tell you right now, yeah, it is not an easy place to play if you're a road team, right? I mean, those Tennessee fans are rabid. It doesn't matter how they're doing. They just want to come show out, drink, and watch the mayhem happen. And so, yeah, I don't know. I still think Texas A&M's defense is pretty good. I think, they can still shut down that Tennessee offense. Give me Texas A&M in this one.
Okay. Ooh, I will make a pick here. Fuck it. Give me Tennessee. Give me Tennessee in a close game. High scoring affair too. Give me Tennessee here.
All right. I like it. Arizona, Washington State. Washington State.
Yeah. Cam Ward get back on track this week. He'll throw for 500 yards today.
Absolutely. Dominating like a dog. This actually is an interesting one. Auburn, LSU.
LSU pisses me off, and I know they pissed Christian off because he was higher on them than I was this year. But they play no defense apparently in Baton Rouge. It's optional week to week. So Auburn can't move really the ball though. Give me LSU in a weird game. I don't know how to predict a score on this one, but I'm taking LSU. Auburn just doesn't show enough on offense. I think their defense isn't terrible. Give me LSU in this one.
Yeah, I want to stay very far away. If I would avoid betting money on this game,
Exactly.
like my life depended on it. Give me LSU, I guess. I mean, eventually Auburn's going to beat somebody they shouldn't, and I'm really torn with it. But give me LSU in this one. I mean, like you said, they just don't have a defense over there this year.
No.
So wouldn't it be crazy though if they come out and hold them to like 3 points? I mean, just decide to start playing defense and end up playing defense like lights out the rest of the year.
Dude, after giving up, I mean, they've given up like 50 bombs to Missouri and Ole Miss, and I mean, it's just so optional over there. I don't understand it.
Oh my God, yeah. Looking ahead here, Kansas, Oklahoma State, not even worth picking because it's the Big 12 and they do weird shit over there. Is noted as the last couple weeks, last couple years really. But moving ahead here, Mizzou to Kentucky.
I know we did this game. I'm rolling Kentucky. I think this game is. I think these two teams are basically even. I really do. I'm going to lean Kentucky in this one. Missouri coming off that tough loss, 49-39 last week to LSU, and obviously Kentucky's coming off of just a ass whooping by Georgia last week. Give me Kentucky though. Give me Kentucky in this one. I think this game is super close. Super close.
Yeah, give me the best team in the country that didn't pay for their players allegedly, Kentucky. I mean, got that ass handed to them. Mizzou's the feel-good story of the year, but I mean, sometimes like we see in sports movies, unless you got a golden retriever, playing quarterback for Mizzou, I don't see it happening today at Kentucky.
Nope.
Moving ahead here, Georgia Southern, James Madison.
Yeah,
the game nobody's. All right, give me Georgia Southern.
James Madison is, I think they're like 5-1 or something like that, or undefeated. They're like the top 30 team in the country, something like that. I'm going to take James Madison. I don't know why I know anything about him, Christian. Isn't that terrible?
Hey, somebody's got to, Chris. Somebody's got to. Oh man, Michigan State, Rutgers off the dome. Give me Rutgers.
I'm taking Rutgers, and I'm taking the 4.5 points today. I think Rutgers is the slept-on team this year. I think Rutgers is a lot better than people think. So give me Rutgers probably against one of the worst Power 5 teams in the country in Michigan State. They're no coach. They don't got anybody.
Looking at Illinois, Maryland. Still give me Maryland, dude.
Maryland. Illinois can't move the ball, turn it over too many times. Defense is atrocious. Give me Maryland, coming off the loss to Ohio State last week.
I agree with you. Florida, South Carolina.
This is an interesting game. This is a pick'em game right now, betting wise. I think South Carolina wins this game. I think they get a dub here. I know they've struggled this year. Sorry, Swag. Give me the Gamecocks simply because they're at home. It's not at the Swamp.
Yeah, I agree. You said it was a pick'em game, right? Yep. I agree with you. I think you just take all the stuff away from it here. Florida's looked good the last couple weeks, I know. But South Carolina has kind of shit the bed this year. I don't know, man. Like I said, give me South Carolina in this, but only because it's at South Carolina. I think if it was at the Swamp, Florida would probably roll them.
Yeah, I would say this would be that's the only reason why I'm leaning South Carolina, simply just because at home they play better there. Spencer Rattler, if he can get going, I think they'll be fine. I'm not, my thoughts on Graham Mertz. Everybody in the chat does too. He's just one of those guys that I don't think if they get down, I don't think he can lead them to a victory.
Moving ahead, Iowa, Wisconsin.
Interesting game. Somebody in the chat brought up this might be the Big Ten West. Everybody knows I'm super high on Wisconsin. Probably not as high as I was to start the season. They've been looking better. The defense is starting to come to play a little bit. They're without Chaz Molesky, but they got Braylon Allen. I pound the football. I know it's Iowa. I know their defense is good, but Iowa's offense is atrocious. They're on their backup quarterback now. How many passes did he complete? 6 passes last week, Christian? That quarterback from Iowa, something like that, 6-21.
Yeah, six out of 21.
Impressive. Go ahead and give your boy a call over here. I'll play some quarterback for Iowa. But give me Wisconsin in this one. And I truly think it's a lower scoring game, but I don't think Iowa can score more than 10 points in this game. I really don't. Give me Wisconsin like 24. I'll give you the score 24-10. And Wisconsin keeps moving on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very weird score. It's a Big Ten West game there. It's a 3:00 kick for us here Central Time. Iowa's offenses look terrible. Their defense looks good, not as top 10-ish as it normally is. Wisconsin has looked a little different this year under Luke Fickell. I think they're starting to kind of find their identity there. Tanner Mordecai needs to play really well. Again, if Iowa can somehow stop Wisconsin's run game, I think that secondary kind of matches up a little more favorably against Mordecai in the passing attack. But I look at this from that standpoint of Wisconsin. Just to me, I don't know. I think they're in a better position. Give me Wisconsin all day.
Yeah. If Wisconsin, like I said, and I think I brought this stat up, Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken, leads the country in drop passes this year. They got to help Mordecai out. I know we harp on him here, but if they can run the football just a little bit today against Iowa, and I think Iowa's defense is going to be on the field 80% of the game. I know this strictly because I root for Nebraska, and it's kind of the same song and dance over here most weeks too. So it makes it tough to win games like that when your defense is on the field the entire time.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you. They got Wisconsin. Seth's hyped. He's got them winning 34-0.
Let's go.
Swag says,
sorry.
You're good.
Just laughing at the score, 0.
34-0. Hey, man. I mean, that's realistic right there. Graham Mertz is playing great at Florida, unlike what Chris is saying. He is pitiful when he's doing well.
What do you mean by that? I just don't think Graham Mertz is a good quarterback, man. I mean, not for a kid that was recruited as high as he is. He's got 6 years of playing time, man. I just don't see it today. I'm not sold on Graham Mertz. Until he does what Christian says, hits something other than a single, if you want to use baseball terms, I'll give Graham Mertz his props. But what's his best win this year? Tennessee. And that game, Graham Mertz really didn't have to do anything that game. It was Tennessee that didn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, he's marginally average. I mean, that's what he is. I mean,
yeah, I
can't put it. I can't sit here and say he's been the best quarterback in the SEC, or he's been the guy that's put up a whole bunch of he's the reason why Florida's offense is elite or electric. You know what I mean? I mean, he might be a bridge gap, like he might be better than the other guys on the roster, but I mean, what does that really say? I mean, what does Graham Mertz have to do to beat Georgia or Florida State for you? Is to hit the home run ball, dude. He has to start connecting deep down the field against great teams. He can't shrivel up and just be, and some of it, like I said, some of it has been on Graham Mertz and the offensive play calling, and some of it has been on receivers and shit like that. Hands hitting them right in the middle of the hands and popping up for interceptions, right? But I mean, that was part of the problem last year with Anthony Richardson, was it not? Where didn't he have, like, if we were looking at it in the offseason where there was some obscure stat where if you go back, the amount of times Anthony Richardson, would hit guys in the hands and they would drop it. I mean, it was astounding. I think it was, wasn't it not, Chris? I mean, that's why the guy ended up going so high. I mean, if he struggled with accuracy issues, I don't think the Colts ever would have taken him.
No, it's the fact that it's Chris, you touched on it. It's a combination of everything. But when you're the quarterback, you get a lot of the praise and you take a lot of the heat, unfortunately. And I'm going to tell you this, Gator swag. Where's the Gators offense rated in the SEC offensively this year? Because I know where they're at, and they're 9th worst. That's where they're at. So Florida's offense is not elite this year. It's not, and some of that is on Graham Mertz. And Christian said it best. He's marginally average. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Trust me, it's probably not something you want to hear, but it's the truth there. And Graham Mertz, I've seen enough of him. Yeah, remember, I watched this guy play at Wisconsin. I'm sure Seth could tell you about Graham Mertz and what he is and what he's not. But Christian said it best too. Receivers not catching balls. their running game has not been as good as it was last year, which is actually kind of surprising to me because they got Etienne back, and I can't think of the other kid's name. That's what they really relied heavily on last year too, was running the ball. And I know Richardson was a big part of that because he's obviously a different style of quarterback, but Florida's offense just struggles, man. It does. It has against good defenses. It did against Utah. It got blown. They got the doors blown off them against Kentucky. I'm not saying South Carolina's defense is elite, but like I said, give me South Carolina in this one. Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, man. I mean, let me take a look here. You bring up a good point here, Chris. The other side of it that you have to understand too is Mertz. You look at I personally think Paul Chris was a bigger reason Mertz didn't succeed. Is Mertz perfect? No, but he's doing better than a lot of people thought he would. Mertz definitely messed up a lot with Chris, which is awful. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think Mertz is doing better than what we thought he would do this year, right? I mean, it's better than like him coming out and having like a 60% clip rate, you know what I mean? And him having like 5 interceptions at this point or something crazy like that to like 6 touchdowns. But the other side of it too, and this is where I think a lot of people, if you don't really dig into the stats here, here's the thing. On the road this season, he's 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He goes down to a 75.7% completion percentage. At home, yeah, at home, he's got an 83.2% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. So I think he's 2 different players on the home versus at road. Versus on the road. So that's why obviously in this one, that's why I'm predicting South Carolina, right? But again, like we're saying, you can be good at home, you can be great at home, but if you can't win on the road in the SEC, what does that make you?
Average.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in Seth brings up a good point here. He says Mertz definitely messed up a lot, but Chris was just awful. Chris was, but Billy Napier, in my opinion, is not a good coach either. I think that ties into some of it too. I mean, I just Florida this year. Florida has it tough. Not only this year, their schedule's so backloaded. Next year, we looked at their schedule. We don't need to bring it up today again, but my God, it don't get easy for Florida, man. I mean, they play a lot of good teams next year too. It's going to be rough. And I know everybody's telling me, was it DJ Lagway is the kid they got coming in supposedly next year? And I'll be surprised if they're going to start him as a true freshman. That rarely works, especially in the SEC.
I mean, the other side of it too, like you look at going into this year, I mean, they were actively trying to get another quarterback before the year started.
Oh yeah.
They were trying to get a middle schooler to reclassify.
Kid's like 16, ain't he?
Yeah. He was a sophomore in high school, but still.
Yeah, how desperate are you? Jesus.
Still has a year left. Yeah, he could work on some stuff, come back probably. Be the Tim Tebow saver that Florida needs. I mean,
yeah, Mertz has another year. I just don't think Mertz is the answer going forward, though. Personally, even next year, because is Billy Napier going to be there after this year if they only win 4 or 5 games, Christian?
Well, I mean, the fans will tell you yes. Some of the real passionate fans will tell you yes, but I think there's a lot more overall fans that if he only wins 4 or 5 games, and it depends on how they win. I mean, if they come out and get curb stomped, pretty much the rest of the way, then probably not.
Would you say this is a must-win game for Florida? Because this game is one of the easier ones they got left on the schedule because they got Florida State yet. I think they got like LSU or Bama or somebody yet, Georgia. I mean, it's kind of a must-win if you're Florida, right? I mean, they need to win this one against a not so good SC team.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone will say, well, it's not a must-win, or let me ask you this question. I mean, I think we can all agree that every game, when you're halfway through the season and you've only got, what do they got? They got 4 wins at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Every win kind of becomes that, right? I mean, you watch that documentary with Urban Meyer and everything like that, and you look at where that Florida program was at when he took over back in 05, 06. It was a situation where, I mean, he said, I thought I was going to get fired, and I lost 3 games my first year, right? And so it's like, okay, so you look at that, you look at what's going on, at Auburn, what happened at Auburn with Brian Harkin, right? And he only lasted 2 years. And that's the thing is, if he doesn't figure out a way to beat somebody of note in the SEC, and he's just a middle of the pack guy, Florida will not stand for that, right? Florida is not going to stand for that. I mean, it's part of the reason why we have it's a brand, right? That's exactly what it is. It's a brand, and that's what Florida football is. It's the orange helmets, the blue jerseys, the swamp, Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer, everybody and anybody in between. Okay, Steve Spurrier. It's an attitude. It's a mentality, right? And we can get on here and we can laugh and we can joke and we can throw out a lot of funny things. But if you're the Florida man, if you don't win today against South Carolina, and it's not particularly close, a team that you even self-described as pitiful, who to me has played a much tougher schedule than you guys have to this point, it's gonna get really interesting in the swamp, right? Because like you said, it doesn't really get any easier from this point forward.
Nope.
You still have two top 5 teams on the docket in Georgia and Florida State.
Yeah, you got Arkansas. Okay, all right, you might be able to beat them, but then you got LSU and Missouri at Mizzou, and at LSU. So I'm saying, like, I mean, Florida ain't making a bowl game unless you win this game today and beat Arkansas.
Yeah,
unless you fluky win maybe over somebody in LSU or something. I'm not saying they're not beatable, but I'm a little worried if I'm the Florida man going forward. This is a must-win game. I know every game's a must-win game, but for Billy Napier, this is a big one for him because his biggest win at Florida has been the win over Tennessee week 3, and we don't even know what Tennessee is yet.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what it is. I mean, a lot of people are saying he's not going anywhere, but again, we'll see what happens. I mean,
excuse me.
We'll see what happens. Nebraska going to win this week, Chris?
Oh, undefeated against the bye.
Undefeated, he says.
Undefeated, baby. I did get to turn the helmet over last week, though, Christian. So I felt good. A little moral victory over here at the Baca household.
Billy Napier's biggest win is Utah last year.
Okay. That was like, what, week 1?
Yeah, that was week 1 of last year. Right?
Yeah, that was a big win for, Utah won the Pac-12 last year.
But it nets out, though, right? Because, you guys lost to Vanderbilt last year as well, right?
Yeah, got blown out by Oregon State in a bowl game. Got blown out by Utah week 1 here. What was that Kentucky game? Give up like 400 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Gator swag, come on, buddy.
Man, we got it all wrong, Chris. Biggest game today is Nebraska versus Penn State in volleyball, both undefeated in conference play.
That'll be a good one. Well, I've been following the Huskers volleyball pretty close this year, so Penn State's obviously a legendary volleyball program. So, yeah, I guess if you're a Husker fan, watch the volleyball today.
Chris, I've been keeping up a lot more. I think the Southampton, which is a team, by the way, out in South Carolina, River Monsters, they're a AAA baseball affiliate. I think they're currently projected to finish 500th. 500 for the season. So they're going to split their season, right?
Yeah.
I probably would care more to watch that than I would to watch a volleyball game.
I like my Husker volleyball, but yeah. Is that what they're called? The River Monsters?
I don't fucking know. I just made that shit up.
I was like, is that actually the name?
I don't fucking know, dude. No, in all seriousness, though, I will say this. One weird thing about living in the Midwest that I've kind of come to admire is I grew up in Georgia, so I thought, okay, hey, we really love football down here. But you guys take football and sports to a whole nother level.
It's the only thing we got or had. I don't know if you want to say we got football anymore, but yeah, sports, we're big on the like I said, we don't have a pro team here either. You know what I mean? I wish we did. Nebraska is the pro team.
That is true. That is very true. Well, what else are you guys excited for this weekend? Yeah. I mean, hey, it's. I feel like there's some good games this week, but there's not as many marquee games I think as there was maybe last week, right? Yeah. Kind of it's kind of, was it longer than it is wider, taller than it is wider?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think that this week, and this is not going to be a down week. I actually kind of see some potential upsets today. You know what I mean? A lot of those teams like Ohio State, Florida State play teams that are probably not rated. We don't think much, but conference games, you never know what can happen, Christian. We see it happen all the time. Somebody's going to get knocked off today.
Yeah.
I'm calling it. One top 10 team's going to lose today. And it's not Washington or Oregon. Outside those two, obviously, somebody's got to lose that game and somebody's going to win. I'm calling it. Don't know which one it is, but I'm calling it.
That said it right. Oregon, Washington. I think that's going to be a great game.
Yeah, if you're a football fan, watch that one, man. That'll be a lot of NFL athletes in that game too. By the way, Washington's 3 receivers are all NFL caliber receivers. Oregon's got a bunch of guys. Bucky Irving's a hell of a running back. A lot of good players in that game today.
I would say I'm probably most excited about seeing Miami, North Carolina. To me, I think that's got the best potential to be like it's a late game window. You got Southern Cal, Notre Dame kicking at the same time. It'll kind of be one of those things where probably not as many eyes are going to necessarily be on it. It's a top 25 matchup. It's going to be an interesting game, and I think it's got that feel of being a classic game right there.
Yeah, and they play each other every year, right? USC, Notre Dame. I think it seems like that's played every year. I think if Notre Dame would have lost last week, I wonder what the spread would be on this game, because I think Notre Dame would be favored by like 7. I truly do, just because USC's defense has been so bad and their schedule is so backloaded that they haven't played anybody yet. I do. So like with Notre Dame losing, Christian makes a good point because he's taking Notre Dame today, and it looks like most of the country's betting on Notre Dame today. That could be a really good game, though. I agree with you. That's a close one.
Oh yeah, I agree. Bo Nix legacy game. I think he's turned his career around so well. I agree with you. I think he has too.
Yeah, he looks.
I think he has
awesome, and I think a lot of that is Dan Lanning in the right program there too. Dan Lanning is one of the most underrated coaches in the country, man. What he's done in Oregon, he started there last year, right? And still won 9 or 10 games. Like he's that guy, and he's built the defense out there in the Pac-12 with Oregon, man. They used to never have a defense out there. That defense, he stole some of your guys' stuff down there in Georgia, man, and it's working. It is working.
God, is it ever, dude? Gator Swag says Vandy will beat Georgia, LOL. And the important part there is he said laugh out loud. So, I mean, he even answered his own statement there.
Yeah.
It is a laugh out loud kind of thing.
Yeah. Vandy over or under 13 points scored today. I'm going to take the under. I don't even think it's 10 today, man.
Yeah, he's right. Looks like Dylan Raiola and the Buford, one of the best teams in the state of Georgia, top probably 10 in the country, lost to Bill Creek. They got upset.
Yeah, were they were. This could sound crazy. Were they not on TV last night? I thought I saw that going across the ticker that they were on TV. That game was somewhat televised or something. I swear I saw that yesterday. That's crazy. If it was for a high school football game.
I think so. Honestly, I was a little zoned out. I probably should have been watching that over that Stanford Colorado game.
Are y'all ever going to cover basketball this season? No. I'm a diehard Husker fan. Our basketball program has been subpar for all my life, which is 38 years. They've had a couple decent seasons. They only made the tournament 4 times ever. I think they're the only Power 5 school that never win an NCAA tournament game. So if that tells you anything about the Cornhuskers in basketball.
There is, I wouldn't mind doing it, but there are so many moving parts to doing a basketball thing, man. It is so tough.
And then it's every night too. I mean, it's every night there's basketball when it really ramps up.
I agree. I tell you what would probably be more interesting than seeing us do that is seeing me and Chris play one-on-one and seeing me basically just dominate an old geriatric looking fuck over there for 60 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this much: for 60 minutes, I couldn't run up and down the court for more than about 4 minutes anymore. But yeah, if you want to see me have a heart attack out there and get the ambulance on the way,
I'd probably tear my ACL. 100%. You ever seen Tom Segura? In that accident he got in when he tried to dunk a basketball. That'd probably be what I would look like.
That's good shit. Anything else, chat? You guys got anything else you want to talk about upcoming on this slate of games? I think we kick off here in about 30 minutes. So
yeah, this is a great part about doing this. We started trying to do this morning show to kind of Bridge the Gap. That is a certain ESPN show that was near and dear to our heart every morning leading up to kickoff. But the other great part of it is we get done with this and hey, there's only 20, 30 minutes. There's nothing worse than waking up early on a Saturday and then you got to wait 3 hours before the actual kickoffs start. So.
No, exactly. I can tell you this much. I'm going to be tuning into that Georgia Vandy game, Christian, now that you made me bet on it. So I'm going to hold you accountable this morning. They start at 11 here. They're on, I think they're on ABC. So
Let's
Dogs.
go. Yeah, go Dogs.
Fucking Bulldog fan by the time I'm done with the show.
Well, we're going to have to get you. You guys have made me Husker fans, just closet Husker fan, I would say.
Yeah, I will say this. I did always like Georgia way before I met you out of the SEC. They were my favorite school just because they reminded me a lot of Nebraska, especially in the Bo Pelini eras with Mark Richt, dude. 9 wins, 10 wins. You guys could just never beat LSU or fucking Bama, man. It used to make me so mad because I hate Alabama.
I do too, man, with a burning passion. Gatorswag has a really good question here. He says, what is the biggest upset? And by the way, Seth, thank you so much. We appreciate that. That's what we aim to do. But what's the biggest upset for the 12 o'clock games today?
I know this is going to sound crazy, and I might get laughed off the fucking internet. And this is not like me putting money on this game, but I could see it's between Syracuse and Florida State or Purdue, Ohio State for me. I see Purdue hanging in this game for a while. I know I can't believe I'm saying that, Christian, but I'm gonna say if I had to bet an upset in the early slate, give me Purdue today.
Give me a second here. I want to look something up, and I'm gonna tell you whether or not I'm gonna take it or not. I'm still gonna take this, but I still want to know whether or not I'm right to take it or not.
And by the way, yeah, thanks, Seth. I appreciate that, man. Swag says, I'd love to see FSU lose. I would too, except for I'm super high on them. I had them running the table this year. So Florida State, though, they're in a spot, dude, where they could lose. They are against Syracuse. I could see it. Syracuse is I don't think they're a great team, but Florida State, I mean, they almost shit the bed against Boston College this year in one of those games. So yeah, Seth, you said it best. That's what I thought. I thought Purdue beating them not too long ago. They always kind of pose a threat to Ohio State. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Purdue is at home today. So I could see this being closer than what the experts think. Duke versus Florida State next week is going to be exciting. I agree. Duke is a team that Christian's kind of got me on. Christian picked that upset this year on Clemson, man. Yeah, I was too bad Duke didn't beat Notre Dame. That's what I really wanted. That game came down to the last play. 2019. Okay, you're right. Yeah, that wasn't that long ago. I remember that. I think that's when they had Rondell Moore.
I'm still looking here. Sorry, hold on one second.
No, you're good. I just answered some questions here in chat. But yeah, if I had to lean, guys, I think I'd lean Purdue today in an upset if I had to bet on these early slates. If I had to pick one team to knock somebody off, I think I'll lean Purdue. And they might get blown out by 40. Their defense is not very good, but I do know Hudson Card, man, the guy can make some plays with his feet. Seen it happen. And Ohio State, I don't know. Ohio State's defense is a lot better than most years, but man, their offense does not look the same with Kyle McCord back there.
All right. Arkansas, Alabama.
Okay.
And I was
told me
trying
not to
look
put money on that game now. Now you got me thinking.
Well. Here's the reason why I say it. Arkansas has a top 50 defense. They're ranked number 42. That's what I was trying to look up there. I couldn't find it. Those sons of bitches. They blend in. But yeah, they're improved this year compared to last year on defense. Like we said, I think Milroe, he's had 2 really good games. I've seen the guy play quarterback a couple times, and man, if he's off and the team struggles to,
I agree.
If the team struggles to throw the ball, I don't know.
Would you say this, that, Arkansas, one thing about them that they haven't lived up to our hype on the channel at all, especially mine this year, and I would even say in the hearts of their fans, but they're a team that's got a lot of guys with a lot of experience. KJ Jefferson, Raheem Sanders, they got players on that team. If Bama does come out today and Jalen Milroe looks like the Jalen Milroe we've seen in the past, not the one we've seen the last 2 weeks, Arkansas could fuck around and hang around in that game. That's what's kind of crazy about that. And they're 20-point dogs right now, I think. But
Yeah,
I agree with you, Christian. That's a good point.
yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean they play the underdog really well, and we've seen Texas A&M, kind of do it in years past. Where now, of course, they do it at home, right? They do it at home again. They did it at home against Bama. Last year's game, I think, on the road was a close one. This year's game, Bama went on the road and I think beat a decently complete team in Texas A&M. But again, a lot of that was the Jalen Milroe to Jermaine Burton show.
Woo! God.
So I would probably say this week somebody on Arkansas is going to. Hopefully, they have two people dedicated to Jermaine Burton this week.
Yeah, he was their go-to guy in that game. Alabama did not run the ball much, very well in that game, so they had to throw it. And Milroe didn't even run that much, which he's usually like their leading rusher. So, yeah, if Milroe plays really good again and they go out and just blow the doors off Arkansas today, man, Bama's probably the second best team in the SEC. And I that pains me to say that because I'd like to see him fall, but damn, dude.
Real quick, we'll answer a couple more here. Does Wisconsin beat Ohio State? It's a night game at home. The weird thing about Ohio State this year is, and Chris probably touched on this as well, their defense, I remember you touched on this, their defense is much more improved. They're much better this year, I feel like, than they have been in years past. But their offense, to me, isn't as explosive as it has been in years past. So it kind of nets out almost, right? But the thing, the thing on the outside looking at about Wisconsin is the defense, I feel like, isn't as good as it's been in years past, but the offense is a little more, the offense is still doing what the offense is doing. I think they got to figure out a passing game if they, the passing game side of things, if they're going to have a shot to probably win that game against Ohio State. I mean,
I agree. Where's that game at? Did he say?
It's a night game at home. I think it's at Wisconsin.
Okay, that to me helps out Wisconsin tremendously.
Yeah.
They do play well at home. Trust me, I remember Nebraska traveling to Wisconsin, and Jesus, they're like unbeatable there at night. So, not saying that things haven't changed; they obviously have. But I kind of agree with Christian. Ohio State's a flip of what they've been this year with Kyle McCord. He's not C.J. Stroud or Justin Fields or anybody. They do have the elite receivers, but they haven't been able to run the ball as well as I thought they'd be able to. And Wisconsin, I think, is I'd hope at that point when they do play, Wisconsin hopefully looks good today, destroys an Iowa team. I would love to see Ohio State get knocked off by Wisconsin. I truly would. That's a good question.
Gator Swag, I agree with you. He said I had Arkansas 9-3 or 8-4, but now I'm seeing 4-8 or 5-7. Yeah, I mean, it's especially if they lose today, which is very likely that they will. Then yeah.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. I missed on Arkansas completely this year, just like I did on Illinois. Same thing.
Well, and where I was wrong with it was last year. defensively they were they were really bad on defense.
Oh, horrible.
Year. They had some decent pieces like Bumper Pool, and they had some other good players around there, but they lost them obviously to the NFL and just graduating and stuff. So I thought, well, they're probably going to be worse this year on defense, but I think they look better this year on defense than they did last year. The offense is the biggest thing. Is can they get that going and up and running in these big games? So
I agree.
Luke and his vision, I think it could be possible. Seth says he's talking about Wisconsin and that upset. I agree. 100% agree. I think
it's the whole team.
You give Luke next year. That's the year for Wisconsin. Not saying it can't happen this year. I'm just saying next year. That's where you're probably going to see a huge gap up with Wisconsin and everybody else. And, well, not that there's going to be divisions next year, but I think that's where they can make that step forward and they can start playing with the Penn States and the Ohio States and the Michigans.
Last question, Gator Swag. What do you got?
Yeah, what do you guys got?
And don't tell me Vandy's beating Georgia. Yeah, your guys' schedule is crazy. The addition of UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington next year, the Big Ten is. Yikes.
Mike says Iowa's averaging more punt yards than offensive yards per game.
God, we need to get an Iowa man on this show and defend Iowa. I swear nobody cares about it. Man, not even Iowa people.
We got Bama. What the fuck? Why is Bama playing Wisconsin next year?
Oh my God.
Bama never plays anybody.
Woo. Yeah,
Oregon, Penn State, USC. All right, well, I didn't know that, but still, I think you can split those and go 500.
God damn, that's
Will Luke Fickell? I think you can.
I love me some Luke Fickell. That's who I wanted at Nebraska.
Through that.
Play next year. Jesus. Yeah. Wow.
What top Gator Swag says? What top 5 team won't make the playoffs? For me, that's easy. USC.
Yeah. I know that absolutely. I agree. USC was in a lot of people's top 4 this year to make playoffs. They weren't in mine. They were 5th, but I think Christian might have picked them in one of our earlier things this year to make a playoff spot. I know a lot of other people did. They don't play any fucking defense over there. It's not going to happen this year.
Oops, sorry. I just assumed because USC's undefeated. Right, so I just assumed, hey, they would be. Yeah, I saw that, right? I saw they're not a top 5 team. I'm getting there, Gator Swag. Don't worry. Just like when we're getting ready to play you guys, we're getting there week by week. So who is the number 5 team, right?
Is it Texas or Oklahoma, or who is it? It is OU.
Yeah, it is OU, isn't it?
Yep. Well, it depends on which
plays anybody.
It's either if you go with the coaches poll or the top 25, they're flipped. Oklahoma's 5th. In the coaches poll, Penn State is 5th. So Florida State's 4th. And we obviously know who the top 3 are. That's Ohio State, Michigan, and Georgia. I think Oklahoma could get beat by Texas in the Big 12 title game. And that might hurt both those teams.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but that's – we got a new guy in here. Griffin says Bama never plays anybody with a skull.
But I don't know. Probably on the outside looking in. If I had to guess, I'd probably say Ohio State.
Yeah, if I had to put money down, I was going to say Ohio State's got some big dogs left yet. A la Michigan, a la Wisconsin, a la Penn State.
Yeah.
That's actually good. That was a good one, Christian. That's a good question too. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, that's a tough one. Florida State could fuck around and get beat this year too. So that's a tough question. Yeah. I'm going to say Georgia.
Which begs but that fucking goddamn it! You sound like are you what are you the fucking Nebraska Gator over there?
Yeah, I'm over here on a burner account hammering down his Gator Swag, dude. That's me. I've been just trying to chat all day today.
Bet you have. Here's the thing I don't get though, Chris. Right? We bag on USC being terrible on defense, right? Okay. I understand that, but what I don't get is how are they number 10? They haven't lost to anybody. Georgia has had Georgia's had some close games this year, but how do you still put them number 1?
Here's the thing. This is what I think, and I get why they've moved down in rankings. Who have they played? And teams like Oregon, Washington, Florida State, Penn State, all these other teams have beaten somebody at least. What is USC's biggest win this year?
Ooh, probably Colorado, maybe. I mean, but still.
Yeah, that's my point. And they went out last night and had a 30-point lead and blew it. That's my point. I think that's why people are saying USC just isn't any good. They're just like a better version of Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not disagreeing that they should not be a top 5 team. I'm just saying it just blows my mind because you would think, okay, they started the season off. They were a top 4 or 5 team, weren't they? Mm-hmm. Haven't lost. Mm-hmm. By that logic, does Georgia deserve to be number 1?
No, but I think what happened a lot. Here's the thing with Georgia. There's this certain percentage of a fan base that's still holding on to, well, they've won 2 in a row. Nobody's beat them. I don't agree with that logic. I think it's a different year, right? Different team. But Georgia, I will give them credit. What they did to Kentucky in a top 20 team was impressive last week. That's where I think you probably give a little more of an edge to Georgia. I wouldn't put Georgia. Georgia's not my number 1 right now either. They're not, but they're in my top 4 right now currently. 100%.
Well, they're number 1 in my heart, but not with my eyes and not what I've been seeing on the field. I mean, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, and Griffin said it best. I mean, like we've been saying for a while. I mean, their defense is god awful.
It's actually worse than I think it's ever been for a Lincoln Riley team. It's that bad. I mean, he's been bad on defense for years, but this year's is just. I mean, what did Arizona State take them to overtime last week or some shit like that? And Caleb Williams had to make some remarkable play to win that game against Arizona State's on like their second or third string quarterback, a team that won 2 games last year, 3.
Wasn't it Arizona?
Or maybe it was Arizona. I can't.
It was Arizona, but yeah, but they struggled with Arizona State too. I mean, who was it? Their third string quarterback basically diced them up and down the field too.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty sure I could go get on a scooter and drop back there as a quarterback and pretty much still dice up USC's defense, dude. I mean, Jesus Christ, put me on a Life Alert commercial.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, defense is like, you don't give a fuck about defense. Lincoln Riley don't. And it's not, nobody can just say, oh, it's just this year. He's done this for 8 years. And I start getting mad about it because a fan of college football, man, USC, I want to see do something. They might make a playoff game somehow this year, but they sure as fuck ain't winning one.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime they got to play anybody with a better defense, you can't just outscore everybody. You just can't.
Yeah. I mean, Daniel said it best. USC still has to play Washington, Oregon, and Utah. You know, I mean,
yeah,
man,
yeah, and they're not.
That's yeah.
Their schedule is super backloaded. The first half of it's a bunch of PUD teams that they've barely been winning, hanging on by 7 points in overtime every week, and then they got to play Washington, Oregon, and Utah. Holy shit, those are the 3 best defensive teams probably in the Pac-12, I would think.
Yeah. And imagine if Cam Rising actually can play this season.
Oh,
I would take Utah over him all day.
Hasn't Utah beaten them like the last 3 times or something like that? I think something like that. So I agree with you on that one. I mean, we've been talking about Lincoln Riley and lack of defense for years, but this year it's embarrassing. It's actually offending how bad they are.
It's offensive. Chris got heated. He since had to see a grief counselor after watching that. It's been pretty sad, you know. I mean, honestly, I have to talk with him every day, talk himself off the ledge, you know, over here. I mean, he's been triggered by watching that defense. I mean, it's just been, you know, if you put Chris in your thoughts and prayers because he needs all the help he can get.
Guys, I jumped out a window last week. I grabbed the rope today. I mean, here I am. This is how big of a dummy I am. I bet on USC to win today.
Oh,
so yeah, Christian, if you guys don't see me back, you know what happens. So wish your man some prayers today.
Well, Chris, we're getting ready here. We're 7 minutes now before kickoff here in these slate of games. Let's go. Let's have a good college football season. Hopefully, or a good weekend of college football anyways. Hopefully, if you bet today, may all your bets come true, unless it's against Georgia, Gator Swag. I know you bet against my dogs. That's okay. We will see you guys tomorrow on the recap show. Drink some beers for us.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you degenerates tomorrow.